One, two, three. The soldier's honor fallacy.
A soldier's honor fallacy. The ancient fallacy that all who wore a uniform, fought hard, or followed orders are worthy of some special honor or glory, or are even heroes, whether they fought for freedom or fought to defend slavery, marched under Grant or Lee, Hitler, Stalin, Eisenhower, or MacArthur, fought to defend their homes, fought for oil or to spread empire, or even fought against and killed the U.S. soldiers. A correct argument from ethos, that of a soldier, closely related to the finish the job fallacy. Sure, he died for a lie, but he deserves honor because he followed orders and did his job faithfully to the end. See also heroes all. This fallacy was recognized and decisively refuted at the Nuremberg trials after World War II, but remains powerful to this day nonetheless. See also blind loyalty. Related is the state actor fallacy that those who fight and die for their country, America, Russia, Iran, the Third Reich, etc., are worthy of honor or at least pardonable, while those who fight for a non-state actor, armed abolitionists, guerrillas, freedom fighters, jihadis, oh man, I'm gonna get attacked for that one. Mujahideen are not and remain terrorists no matter how noble or vile their cause until or unless they win and become the recognized state or are adopted by a state after the fact.
I
Interesting.
feel like this one also is like a little bit oh, what's the fallacy?
E for effort.
No, there's another one. Oh, special pleading, where it's like one thing is
Mm.
okay, but it's like it's okay in this one situation, but not in another. Because just with that
Hmm.
ending where it's like, oh, these people are considered heroes, but not these people, and it's like that's a little weird, but yeah.
Hmm.
Hmm. I just watched, by the way, I watched Nuremberg on Netflix. It was really good. It was a good movie
What is that about?
about the Nuremberg trials and the basically the trials of the leftover Nazi leaders after
Hmm.
World War II was completed. I've never seen a film about the events of what happened directly after the war was ended. It's always been like what happened during or right up to. So
Interesting.
it was cool to watch it from that perspective, and Russell Crowe did a exceptional job in the role.
And does this has to do with that?
Yeah, yeah, because it
Yeah,
talked.
tell me. Then tell me. Yeah, tell me why.
Yeah, it talked about the Nuremberg trials. So in here it says he also heroes all. The fallacy was recognized and decisively refuted at the Nuremberg trials after World War II, but remains powerful to this day nonetheless. So it's essentially there's what the overall fallacy we're talking about, the soldier's honor fallacy, is that there is honor in being a part of military action of a country, regardless of what they did or didn't do. And so in this film, the film revolves around uh, the a psychiatrist who is interviewing Hermann Goring, who is the was the number two in command to Hitler. So he was Hitler's successor essentially in that regime. And uh, in the interviews where the psychiatrist is talking to Hermann Goring and trying to understand his psychology, why he thinks the way he does, what he thinks, he talks about a lot of this fighting for his country and this pride in becoming German again, or Hitler allowed us to be German again. And so it was a lot of this, it was just because they were fighting for the right of being able to be German again or fighting for Germany that they had and held this honor in their heart about themselves and what they were doing, regardless of what they were actually doing during that time. So, Russell Crowe did a ton of study on Hermann Goring because there was a ton of information on him. And he's just less, he's one of these figures that is less known because obviously Hitler being the lead of the whole thing, everybody studies Hitler, everybody knows Hitler, but less about Hermann Goering. And it just so happened through some circumstances that Russell Crowe had been like studying him for a very long time, very extensively, unrelated to the fact that he was going to get that role. And so he plays him unbelievably well. And when I say well, I mean accurate to the footage and that which we know about Hermann Goring based off of the documentation and all the things. And Hermann Goring was a very prideful person in the depiction that Russell Crowe presents him to be. And so it's like a lot of that pride just came from like he was a soldier fighting for his country. And people around him gave him that same type of revere just because he was in that position. So it's yeah, to me it's fascinating to movie to watch it from that perspective. Because the movie was it was as historically accurate as it could have been with a little bit of dramatization, obviously, but they used direct transcripts from the actual trials. It was really amazing. It was a cool movie.
Awesome. I feel uh I'm not sure why I feel compelled by this one. Um like I get why there's no merit behind it, but like there I feel like there's honor in uh sacrificing yourself for what you believe in, kind of a thing.
Mhm.
Uh but if that is a morally incorrect thing, then it's still bad, regardless of what you're willing to risk for it.
Yeah, in this instance, it's specifically talking about the fallacy of that if someone is a soldier of the predominant side, that it excuses anything and everything that they would have done. There's like we'll call it an aura of respect around an individual just because they are a soldier, just because they are enlisted, regardless of what they did or did not do, is what I'm and it's like they deserve to be honored regardless of what they did or did not do. I think is the So I think the fallacy is about disregarding what did or did not happen and just simply saying because they are a soldier, they deserve honor, period. Because they're a veteran, they deserve honor, period. Which um, I want to be really clear that I'm not saying I disagree with. I believe that if somebody goes into military service and they place themselves in a position where they are signing up to have their life be put on the line. And in a lot of military instances, you give up your right to have your own agency. You are signing up to have someone else say, these are your orders, follow them, or you're dismissed or you die or whatever. In some cases, you follow these orders or you die. And so I think that for a human being to put themselves in that situation, that takes something, regardless of what the cause is that the person's fighting for. So I think that in and of itself deserves to be acknowledged in a human being. So I want to be clear that that's my stance on that, that one's deciding to put one's life on the line for anything deserves to be acknowledged for the intensity of what such an act actually is. What the fallacy is saying is that ignore all of the information about the conflict they were in, what they did, what they didn't do, throw all that information out just because they are a soldier or just because they are in the military. They deserve to be honored regardless. And then it says later in there, kind of like in a second piece, as long as they're on the winning side. Because it also says here, which I'll reference another movie, the state actor fallacy as a related fallacy, that those who fight and die for their country are worthy of honor or at least pardonable, while those who fight for a non-state actor are not and remain terrorists, no matter how noble or vile their cause. That was shown really heavily in Avatar 3 Fire and Ash, where Jake Sully it was one of, I've never seen this depicted in a movie so well, so it was really fascinating to watch this perspective. But you have Jake Sully, who's the main protagonist of the film, and spoilers for anybody who's watching this. So don't keep watching unless you want to be have this part spoiled for you. But in the most of the film, he's a part of this tribe, and he's in his way of life, their way of life, and they're just trying to have their way of life. Meanwhile, you have the opposing force, this military force that wants to kill innocent animals for the resources that they get from them. They want to burn trees down, eliminate forest fire, like all this stuff. They want to destroy this environment because it's profitable for them to do so. And obviously that causes an issue with Jake Sully's character. Well, there's a part in the film, this is the spoiler part, where Jake Sully is captured and brought back to the military base, under which they do this whole thing where they put him into a glass prison cell and everybody's filming him with cameras and it's this big spectacle. And they're like, the terrorist Jake Sully. And we caught him. We got him, people. We did the thing. And it's like this person, Jake Sully, is not attacking them. They're the ones attacking him, but because he's on the opposite side of a non-state, endorsed thing, he's automatically labeled as a terrorist, automatically labeled as bad because he's not a part of the actual state. And it was fascinating because for the very first, I've never thought of it from this perspective, but that movie gave me this moment of like, oh shit, like maybe not everybody who's labeled as a terrorist, as evil, as bad, as awful on the quote unquote opposite side actually is a bad person. Maybe that's just what the media says. So, yeah, it's like two very interesting cinematic examples of this where the soldier's honors fallacy was pretty well shown around the as a theme in the film Nuremberg in the way that people referred to Hermann Goering and spoke around him, talked with him, and talked about the Nazi regime. And then the state actor fallacy very heavily pointed out and highlighted in Avatar 3, Fire and Ash. Super, both fascinating ways to look at it.
I'm sure that the UK thought of the colonies ended up becoming terrorists,
Oh yeah.
and then and then they literally did the ironic thing where they then became terrorists to Native Americans, actually.
Yep.
Um, and then but then no, they labeled the Native Americans as terrorists. Um,
Yeah.
wild,
Yeah.
wild.
Yeah.
I don't know how much this is related, but just because this topic, uh, I always grew up thinking that anyone in the military was selfish because my mom told me that. Um,
Whoa.
yeah, I'm not sure where this came from, but I think it was explained to me as a really young kid that wanting to blow people up and shoot them with guns for money is selfish, kind of a thing.
Mm.
And so because of that, that's an argument from authority fallacy that just because my mom said so, it's true. That I went so long thinking that like, oh yes, soldiers have negative honor because of that. And
Well,
then I don't know when I don't think there was a moment where it switched. I think it just like over time I just was like, no way, I think this is fairly noble. Um and yeah, now I definitely have the opposite opinion. But yeah, that was interesting to
I
me.
think
I don't know if anybody else has that same experience, but that happened to me.
I don't remember. I wasn't ever, for me, I was always told that people, they respect the military and whatnot. Um, and it's interesting because I think that with the soldier's honor fallacy, I think that what can happen is that people will enlist in the military, not always, but they'll enlist in the military because they want to be able to take advantage of soldier's honor fallacy. Like you have to imagine from a human being's perspective, if you walk through a mall or you walk in a public place and you have your military uniform on, you will people will and I'm sure the opposite happens today too as well. However, you will get people who walk up to you and say thank you for your service, thank you for your service, thank you for your service. It happens. Or you get reduced meal prices, you get free things offered to you. It happens. And so that's a very attractive thing for a human being. And so I think that for some people, I think there's genuinely like they may even enlist under the soldier's honor fallacy just to enlist for that reason. And I think if someone enlists just for that reason, I think that's actually, yeah, that's not a good thing. I think because it's like
Hmm.
at that point you're not questioning diligently what is my country's agenda? What is it likely that I will be deployed for? What am I endorsing? Who am I potentially going to be shooting at? Like all those questions don't get, I think they get kind of ignored when someone focuses on just how glamorous it can be in their native country to be a part of the military. So yeah, it's yeah, all this is all pretty spicy stuff we're talking about, but
Yeah. I watched a court case where somebody pretended to be someone from the Navy just so they could get like discounts on
yeah,
stuff. And so
and
they made up they have straight up costume of a Navy uniform. And this guy's been apparently lying about this for like over a decade.
right,
And then the judge was like, I was in the Navy. That is not a Navy uniform. He's like, well, I have a special uniform. He's like, where were you positioned? Were you positioned here, here, or here? He was like, I was positioned at all three. He's like, okay, I made those up. You were not at any of those. Those aren't real. And yeah,
yeah,
no, yeah. So there are definitely people that that will do that or just lie, just
yeah,
straight up lie to have soldiers honor. That's fascinating.
yeah.
Wow.
And I will say for me as a kid, I always found that there was never a point in my life as a kid where I looked at people in the military and was blindly like, you're amazing. I noticed people doing that, but I remember as a kid feeling off about that. I remember being like, why? I don't understand. If this person's, as a kid, I was like, I don't understand if this person's wearing this uniform, why they automatically get this type of treatment. What's that about? And I remember it never being very clearly articulated. Now, as an adult, I understand where that comes from and why that's there. I also understand, again, like to reiterate the point that I said earlier, I don't care under what circumstances when somebody puts their name on a piece of paper that says my life is now in someone else's hands, like willing to give your life up for anything is a huge deal. And also the amount of conditioning, the amount of things that people go through to train, especially for to be a part of the United States military, it's intense. So for anyone to sign up for that voluntarily, that's a huge deal. And there are millions of humans who would never do that because they could never even fathom for moral reasons or just because they're too afraid to. So it's like to me, there's always something to evaluate in the positive, I believe, in someone signing up for the military in some way. And also at the same time, simultaneously, like the the soldier's honor fallacy, the idea of essentially closing one's eyes and remaining blind to the deeper complexities of what it means to be enrolled, to be enlisted in the military, and all of that is what this one's talking to. In that part, I very much understand why that's a problem.
Sarah, did you have any thoughts? Very good. All right. Well, that is soldier's honor fallacy.